Right, morning everybody on Facebook and the Norwich Guide Dog Forum page. It's Lana Hempsall here. I'm one of the coordinators for the Facebook page, and today I am joined by, if I can get my settings sorted out, again. Seriously, somebody should not leave me in charge of technology because I'm absolutely useless. So today I have with me Yvette Chivers. I met Yvette some years ago now, and it doesn't seem possible how long ago it really was, when I first trained with Zorin. And we were both at, I'm not going to say cooped up at the Annesley Hotel, but it kind of felt like that a little bit, didn't it?
It did. Yeah, it was a heat wave, wasn't it?
It was the heat wave. It was impossibly hot, and it was just, we ended up curtailing the training course. It was so hot, wasn't it? So,
it was. That was, I mean, Zora, I don't know how old he was just turned. You said it was his birthday recently. So Kappa's 4 in December.
Yeah.
So this would have been, I got him at a year and a half. So it's 2.5 years ago.
Yeah.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Seem possible, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. So Zorin is my third dog, and Kappa was
my first.
Kappa is Yvette's first guide dog. But yes, obviously, as you do, get talking on these courses, and Yvette does something absolutely incredible, and I do love creative people, because I suppose because in all of my life I've never really done anything creative. I think this forum and what I do on In Conversation on Facebook is probably the most creative thing I've ever done in my life. But you're involved in the music industry, and it just seems like one of those things that I kind of really wanted to do. It's like when I was growing up, I kind of really wanted to be a DJ. It just looks so glamorous and so amazing, and I so love the music, but you're actually doing it. So do you want to tell me more about it, how you got involved and how did it happen for you? And I think mostly it's because you're visually impaired just as me, you're a guide dog owner just as me. How does that work for you?
Well, I'll kind of, there's some really good questions there. So how I first got into it, I always liked clubbing from like, late teens sort of thing. Always liked my dance music, and was always just very aware that I knew, or I could kind of guess what the next tune would be. When the DJ was mixing it in, that was just kind of thing that I always say to my friends, like, I bet it's this, I bet it's this, or it should be this. And I was diagnosed when I was 23 with retinitis pigmentosa. So just after university, and when I was in my first job in London. And obviously that was a massive knock. And from that, I wanted to have a career in marketing and corporate marketing and things like that. And my first job in London was with a creative agency, which was great. But then when I got diagnosed and just things kind of turned on its head, I left London and moved back to my hometown of Cambridge, and really didn't know what to do myself. I applied for marketing jobs, but kind of life was kind of all over the place, as it is kind of for a lot of people when they first get diagnosed with any sight loss. So just didn't know really what to do with myself. So it's one of those kind of bittersweet things, kind of threw myself into going out partying a lot. Which is probably not the best way to deal with things, but
hey, I could think of worse ways
exactly.
of doing it.
But, just kind of did that. I mean, obviously, I had jobs, but they weren't anything like anything solid really. And throughout that process of kind of going out a lot, I'm always a sociable person anyway. Just in the local town of Cambridge, got to know everyone and anyone there was to know in the music scene, whether it was live music and bands or DJing, and kind of just started to mold my own job. So I started to manage a few bands. I started to, promote a few nights, and it just kind of happened from a very hobby basis into the fact that now I run international music projects. I work with pro audio brands doing their marketing. It's crazy, but it has been. So that was when I was 20. It has been, a 15-year progression of just basically keeping in there and just over the time and over the years proving yourself, but with the DJing side of things, I remember I collected records since I was 15, Motown and soul and disco, very much my father's fault, but yeah, really into that kind of music. And I remember it was when Glastonbury was on one year, and there was some friends of ours playing in a club in Cambridge, and they had this lad warming up for them that was playing Motown, but they were a techno night. So I thought, well, that's crazy. That's really good, because that's obviously what I'm into. And it means that people of our age are actually wanting that, you know, the Motown and the soul to start off the evening, you know, in a nice way.
Yeah.
So I approached this lad, his name was Dom, and I said, you know, it's great what you're doing, and I'm into this music too. Let's do something. So after, you know, chatting loads about music, he assumed that I DJ'd, which I didn't know he assumed that. So we planned this night. It was called the Sweatbox. Had you know, all Motown soul, all that kind of stuff as the music genre. We had to change the night name because there's another night called Sweatbox. We changed it to Uptight, as in with Stevie Wonder, and Stevie Wonder's face was on the flyers. It's back when we even had flyers, and then we got to the event. I mean, it was a bar. It wasn't a club, thank goodness, but enough people came because they knew it was a night that I'd kind of like, you know, that I was part of. And I got there, and Dom, this co-promoter, said, "Play your records." I was like, "I don't DJ," and he was like, "Well, you're going to have to, because you're on the bill." And I was like, "Well, my goodness, I don't know how to DJ. Like, what are you on about? I know how to put a record on the vinyl player, but that's it." And so he was like, "Well, you know, you're going to have to sort something out because you're on half the night." So I rang my dad, or I think my dad was already there. I said, "Dad, I haven't got any records." Like, he rushed off home to get his old 75s. His old 45 records. And then he came back, and I said to the sound engineer, who was by the Technics, which I know are decks now, I said, "How do I make it go from that thing to that thing?" And he went, "What, you don't know?" And I was like, "No, just tell me how I make it go from that thing to that thing with this mixer in the middle." And he just looked at me gobsmacked and showed me the crossfader, essentially, on the mixer. So I did it, and I did it, and you know, got through the evening, and it was just one of these complete kind of random evenings of how on earth did I do that. But with Motown and with,
that sounds like my first Norwich virtual guide dog forum.
well, you know what I mean, it's like properly throwing yourself at the deep end without even meaning to, like, no idea what was going on. But luckily with Motown and soul and disco, you don't need to beat match it, or, you know, it's about your tune selection and just keeping people happy. And that I could do because, you know, I knew the music, I knew the tunes. It wasn't anything too bad. But from that, then I became a DJ. It was so bad. It's so random. And then the next stage, though, so I was doing Motown and soul, and the nights were going really, really well. Everyone loved it. And because I was into my dance music as well, I wanted to blend in the Motown into dance music.
Yeah.
And the next stage, crikey, this is also a weird one. It's not that I lie. It's not like I say I can do something before I can. It's people assume I can do it before I can. Because I guess of the way I used to talk about music, or even now the way I'm so passionate about it. And so the next thing I know, I've been booked to play at the Ministry of Sound in London. And I know this is about a year after starting the Motown nights. And because I was blending some dance music into it, I still didn't know how to beat match. And on the way there, and it was a house night that I'd be booked for, and I was like, oh my God, I love house music, but I've never mixed it before. And on the way to London, I was driving. I could still drive at the time. I was driving down there. My sister was in the passenger seat, and she just looked at me. She goes, "You do realise you can't beat match?" And I looked at her and I said, "I know that. I'm just going to have to do it." So got to Ministry of Sound, and I'm sure I clanged some of the tracks, but I did it. You know, it wasn't so bad. And I think because I had so much passion in music, because I listened to it all the time, and I knew what I was doing in terms of the actual sound, it's just the technicalities I wasn't that great at, and the buttons and stuff. But since then, over time, you know, I learned the hard way. But I kind of, my passion, my technical abilities had to catch up with my passion quite quickly. And then from that, I was resident at the Secret Garden Party Festival for 10 years. Did live radio for them as well. I DJ'd in Berlin. I've done numerous festivals around this country, you know, but progressed from the Motown and soul into breakbeat, drum and bass, house, all sorts. And now, you know, obviously now with lockdown, the events aren't happening, but, you know, it's just been a career that has been one of those complete mistakes, but that I wouldn't have it any other way. And the other opportunities came through, and it's done a full circle. I'm now doing marketing for you know, high audio brands internationally, for artists and all that kind of stuff. So over 15 years, what I kind of wanted in the first place, but kind of went adrift because of my eye disorder, has come full circle. And I've built my career and my abilities to do that career around myself, you know. So the fact that my eyes are restricted, I mean, in clubs it's kind of difficult, but I feel safe behind the decks. I'm not in the crowd, so that's okay. I think it's hard to be in the crowd when you can't see them when the flashing lights are going off. Obviously the guy, Kappa can come with me to festivals, but I leave him at home when I do clubs and stuff. But I've molded my career and my ability, my career and my passions around my ability. So I work my own hours. Sometimes we all have down days. I explain, my clients know what I disorder I've got. If I'm having a bit of a down day, they know, and I put, plan in advance. So it's kind of, I'm glad I'm not stuck in a kind of 9 to 5, because I think that'd be a lot more, I know people are, but I think for me personally, that'd be a lot more tougher, a lot more difficult.
It's so unusual, because I think everybody will say that there aren't very many female DJs out there.
No.
Yes, there are, but predominantly and historically it was a very sort of male dominated job, and to be, let's be honest, the bar gets even higher when you have a visual impairment or a disability of any description. It just becomes that much tougher. So for a woman, girl, to get into the industry, you're kind of handicapped by your gender, which is, and the disability on top. I'm just absolutely in awe of you, Yvette, and what you've achieved. You really have. That's so. Yeah,
I think it's one of those things where you kind of I'm a fighter anyway, even before my eye disorder came through, and it's it is a male dominated industry. I think I've always not wanted to take it to that really commercial level, because that's when it gets a bit, not nasty, but it gets really kind of dog fight dog, excuse the pun, and and it's just, it
probably gets political with a small p, right?
It does, and it's just it becomes all not about the actual passion, whereas the level that I'm at, which is kind of quite underground, but people are on the level, people are releasing music, they're doing gigs, they're getting paid very well for them, but it's not that kind of Simon Cowell level where you've just constantly got to be looking great. You're that puppet for those people. Whereas the level that we're at, we're entertaining people, we're earning money from it, but we haven't got that pressure. So, and on that level, I think the people I work with and my peers are a lot more supportive. So I don't feel like I'm the only girl and I've got to prove myself all the time. I feel like I'm part of the gang and I'm part of the lads,
Yeah,
so
that's really important, isn't it? Because when you reach a stage where people almost forget that you've got a visual impairment, I come across that a lot in what I do. Well, let's put it this way, I come across it at home. It's just like where people literally forget. It's stupid story. Somebody came to read the gas and electric meter, and my husband goes to me, "Did you read the badge?" I'm like,
exactly. Yeah.
How long have we been married, darling?
Yeah, exactly.
Sort of thing. But that's because that badge isn't there, is it? It's not part of you're just you, and
exactly. A lot of my friends who I DJ with are very aware and they're very supportive, but there's other people where I might put something on my Facebook now, kind of interjected with the music stuff. I'll put in about what I'm doing for sites kind of outreach.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. That's really cool.
Yeah, and people are like, wow, I didn't know. People that come to the events that I DJ at, and they're very shocked by that. But I'm like, well, it's not that, it's still something we have to kind of, that I'm kind of promoting through my music work, is that it's not a stereotypical, it's not a linear thing, sight loss. We don't we don't walk around with our canes and dark glasses. That's the kind of predominantly the kind of vision that people have of people with sight loss, isn't it? And it's like, no, we're all shapes and sizes. We do numerous things, and I think breaking down those stigmas is very important. And you're right, though, being a female with a disability in the music industry does seem like a battle, but actually I think now I'm starting to learn, and with being a bit older and with a bit more experience, I can use those two things to my advantage. They actually give you two unique selling points.
Yeah.
So.
That's incredible. I'm so glad that you're able to do that, because, as I say, the stigma with sight impairment, or just on disability generally, is just it's just crushing, isn't it? It just really is. You either end up with a CV that looks like something Kappa and Zoran sicked up because there's nothing of note on it. Because guess what? None of us were given the opportunities that we probably would have done. Because as I say, being a disabled person or sight impaired person and a woman, it just seems to be the sin of sins, isn't it? And actually, it's not the sin of sins. I think part of it is that, I feel that people genuinely feel protective towards us and want to shield us from, there's still part of that is kind of chivalry, isn't it? It's
There is. I think.
oh, don't you worry, it's okay, I'll do that for you. But you end up in a situation where actually opportunities and possibilities are taken away because everyone's just like, oh, perhaps let's not, let's give this to this other person because she might struggle.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the other thing. It's like, it's that whole kind of question. I had this, we had a big discussion. I was a part of this panel discussion about women in music with disabilities in America. It was from New York. And, the great thing about technology now, especially during lockdown, is I could just zoom into them.
Yeah.
And that was a great discussion about that. And it's about disclosure. I can quite hide the fact I've got a sight loss. I've still got some sight in my left eye. So I can get about without Kappa during the day. It's at night time when it's really difficult. Obviously not for long periods though, but it's when you disclose it to people, whether you disclose it to your employers, whether you disclose it to a potential, in a job interview, when you disclose it to a promoter who's booked you for a DJ night, when do you disclose it? Because sometimes you don't have to, but then are you lying? Do you know what I mean? Yeah. You have to kind of I've been, about your capabilities.
Yeah, I've been turned down in interview situations because I turned up with a guide dog.
Yeah.
And lost the selection by one vote, and the person and somebody came up to me after, so I didn't vote for you because everybody knows I love guide dogs, and they'll just think I was biased.
Oh gosh, see, it's not.
I can't flipping win. I actually can't win.
I actually thought that because over the years, even though I'm quite, I'm very happy in the music kind of industry, you still kind of sometimes want a regular income and stability, which the music industry doesn't give you, right? Yeah. And I've applied for jobs, and in the end, in hindsight, when I haven't got them, it's like, oh, and then another big opportunity in the music industry has happened. So I've always been, oh, good, I'm glad that happened. That was fate. But still
yeah. I just want to say, life is. I love my life, really. I actually really do, and in a way, lockdown has just given me. It's been such an incredible leveler in so many ways, and I really don't want to lose that. It's like I could be in one meeting 1 minute, I can be in two meetings simultaneously, whereas before transport to and from meetings was always an issue. Actually, the way my technology works, I probably manage a lot better in my sort of stable home setup than I would normally. So I do love it, and I really hope that the benefits that we've reaped through having to work from home don't get lost in it moving forward, because yes, it's been rubbish in so many ways, but it's also been really incredible in so many others, and I really hope that we can just take the gold with us when we move out.
Exactly. I've connected with so many more people. It's weird because I feel actually I really need the physical connection with people, and I really miss events and putting on an event and actually feeling that achievement when you put on an event. You've got 400 people that have come and had a great time, and I miss that. But then on the flip side, I've made so many connections with people in the music industry and in the disability sight loss world online and through being on panels, that have been taking place, and because that's all we've had. Yeah.
This conversation would never have happened without lockdown. It just simply would not have. And actually, the guests that we've had on our virtual guide dog forum, so many of them could not have made it just because the distances are prohibitive, etc., etc. So, there is good. What projects are you involved with at the moment? Because there's a special one that we'll talk about at the end, which is to do with sight. But what do you do in Cambridge? There's a particular venue that you're connected with, isn't it?
Which one are you on about
now? Not for profit. Is it the odd sock?
Oh, the missing sock.
The missing sock. That's the one.
They had to shut. I used to do a lot of stuff there. So through my not-for-profit company, which I run with a couple of other directors, it's called Sync Inspire. We started that 1.5 years ago because I had a lot of different projects going on, and the two other directors had as well. And we thought, let's put it under one umbrella. And so with that, we do, well, it's had to stop temporarily, but we have a number of kind of really quirky venues under our kind of, not management, but under our event management. There's a Missing Sock, which is very quirky. It's, again, that's a not-for-profit
I
in
love the
itself.
name.
It's great. It's like a really bohemian, I mean, if you want a wedding, it's a place to have your bohemian wedding. It's just,
Is it?
it's just so quirky inside and out. There's a double-decker bus, karaoke bus outside. There's fire pits, you know, it's lovely. And there's a few other venues kind of locally. There's one in Histon where I live called the Phoenix, the Urban Shed of the Phoenix. And then there's Mad Hatters. There's another venue kind of campsite which has abilities to have marquees on there for events and weddings and stuff. So the whole, and then there's an events field nearby as well. So the whole premise is eco-friendly, kind of low carbon, sustainable, recyclable, all these kind of things, events that people want to get into. So we're actually going to be starting to promote event bookings for next year. Around now, so people kind of, you know, we know that they can, if we have to still do social distancing, that's fine, but I think by you know, spring next year, online is great, but I think people will want to actually go back out to have their corporate events, to have their you know, weddings and their mini festival parties and stuff. So yes,
I think that's something we're all looking forward to, and the vaccine can't come soon enough, can it? It's out of all of the things that have been taken away, it's just like, the one thing I really miss is my swimming and just and even, and actually I've got a few projects that I'm doing through talking to various people. So next year I'm going to go sailing. I'm going to, you know, which it got through by talking to somebody from Visually Impaired Sailing Association. So I'm going to be joining them. I'm also, I think I'm going to be ringing some baby barn owl chicks as well at some point. Unless
so all these things that you want to do, and you've got these plans ahead. And I was supposed to be in Kilimanjaro last month. I'm supposed to do a trek up there, because that got cancelled because of lockdown. Secondly, they had forest fires up there the week before we were supposed to go. So but it's been postponed to next year, and that is to raise money for a lot of charities locally. But you know, that was one thing that I was really looking forward to. I had personal training sessions to get myself fit for it. It's my third peak, and I've never done any training before the other two. I did Himalayas when I was 26, and I did Machu Picchu about 5 years ago. So it was going to be my third peak, and I can't wait for that to come around next year. I just want to get out.
Mind you, you're doing Kilimanjaro. I might be scaling the O2.
No, I know, that's good.
That's the peak of my ambition right now.
That's brilliant. That's awesome.
I think, well, hopefully it's going to happen next year.
Is that when you abseil it? Is that when you?
Oh no! That's just walking.
Okay, fair enough.
This is nothing, but yeah. I mean, I do heights, but I think I've just got to a point where I can get up mountains, but I really can't get down anymore because of my eyesight. So
exactly.
I think the O2 it's, you know, up is easy because you kind of put one foot in front of the other. Down, you kind of need to know where you're putting your foot.
This is very true.
I can't do that anymore. Right. What's your touched upon that just a tiny bit. What is the sight loss related project that you're working on? Because that's really interesting. What does that do?
Okay, it's called I Inspire. So I with the EYE and then separate word inspire. And for anyone that can see, I'm holding up a book. It's got it's got 17 different faces on the front, and it's called Emerging Proud Through Sight Loss with I Inspire. There's an organisation called Emerging Proud. They're based in Norwich, actually, in Norfolk, and they do a number of things for mental health, advocacy, and just inspiring people. And I approached them because they have they bring out a series of pocketbooks like this, and I thought how great it would be to have one based on sight loss. And the premise is there's 17 stories, plus mine, so 18 stories of people worldwide that I gathered from just researching and finding people on the internet. That have got sight loss through various means and various diseases or reasons, but how they've come through it and how they've achieved what they've achieved. So it's not like, you know, myself obviously with the DJing. We've got the British judo team, Paralympic judo team, 2 of the members of that. There's a lad from America who's a blind skateboarder, if you could believe it. And there's another young lad who's a skateboarder and surfer.
Surfing I can do.
Yeah.
Surfing. I did surfing last year in Cornwall. Oh my
It's
goodness,
lovely,
that was
yeah.
amazing.
Exactly.
And I didn't think I could do it, but I think my worst problem was, but do you know what the problem? My biggest problem with surfing was, because I'm so short.
Right.
I was in the water. I couldn't see if the waves were high. I couldn't see people coming over the top.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
But so nothing to do with my sight, but literally just being
just the height. Yeah,
short.
Exactly. But there's so many people, and there's Latchy, who's a singer from America. There's people from New Zealand, from Iraq, from I think it's Iraq. Yeah, there's people from everywhere who sent us their stories, and then we printed it in this book, which was we had the kind of official publishing date was last month, and we were going to have some big events, like talk-based events, like TED Talks.
Yeah.
For it, one up in Manchester and one in Cambridge. Because this year, with the Olympics and the Paralympics, it was the first year that skateboarding was in the Olympics.
Yes.
And then, of course, the British judo team and another lad from Australia, Jono, they were going to be competing in the Paralympics. It's all been postponed. So we're going to do our TED Talks next July and bring all these people over to be part of the talks, which will be live streamed then as well. And the whole premise,
tell you what, I think I might pinch a couple of your guests, actually.
Yeah,
for my conversation, because I had Sophie Thornhill, who was the Paralympic cyclist, gold medalist, amazing person, and Laura. I think I'm hoping that she's going to make the Olympic football team, which I think would be amazing.
Oh wow! Well, no, you could do a sports-based one, exactly. And
I did do a sports-based series, but yeah, I just think I'll pick a few from your book as well. You got all the contact details, right?
Yeah, of course I have. Yeah, and I'll send you the manuscript anyway, so you can have that. But
that would be so good.
The whole premise of it was to launch I Inspire, and the book was to launch the ongoing project. We've got a website which is www.iinspire.org.
Yeah, we'll put the link on the afterwards.
And it's just to inspire not only young people, but anyone with sight loss, that life isn't over when you get diagnosed or when you're pushing through, going through what you're going through. It's an ongoing thing. You have to constantly amend. You have to constantly adapt to what you're dealing with. And it's just about, look, we can all achieve these things. You don't have to achieve great. You don't have to be a Paralympian. Just going to college or just having a job that you like, or any of those things. But the book and then going forwards is to just especially to inspire young people who are just going through that denial phase or that diagnosis phase.
And can't we all relate? It was it's horrendous. I mean, I got my diagnosis when I was 14 going on 15.
And it's hard, isn't it?
Talk about a miserable time of life to get that, really.
Exactly. So we're going to be connecting with lots of different youth groups from sight loss charities across the UK and across internationally. And what we call these people that have are part of the book and more, we call them inspiration warriors. We'll be sending them out to do in-person kind of talks to the youth groups about their experiences as one of our outreaches. We've got we want to do a kind of sight loss photography gallery that goes around as well, with photographers from across the world that have got a sight loss, and then use those funds to help more young people with sight loss. We want to find out in these youth groups what these young people want to do, and then help get them work experience in places that they're interested in. So
that would be amazing, because I remember being approached by somebody on the forum page, by somebody who's visually impaired and really wants to do photography. So I hope you're listening, because that would be somebody you could really connect with and take it further, because again, it's just one of those areas where you think that's a bit incongruent. How on earth does that work? But
anything can work, and anything works, not just because you've got a sight. I mean, in fact, I think the opportunities, you should see it as, I don't know, the opportunities could be a bit wider than a lot of people without sight loss, because I think having sight loss can make you, if you challenge yourself, and once you obviously, I'm not saying I'm confident all the time, but it can give you more confidence to just achieve anything you can. I think a lot of people without sight loss, and part of the book says even this book is for people who are sight, you know, who have sight,
Yes.
just to say anything's impossible, get
Yes.
off your bum and do it.
Yeah. Oh,
You know?
that is so true, because I've always been of the opinion we all have our cross to bear. Every single person on this planet has their cross to bear. Some of those crosses are a bit more obvious, some of them are a bit less. There are people that, I don't drive, I can't drive. DVLA would have a lot to say if I tried. But there are people who don't drive through choice or through fear or insecurity or lack of confidence, and those barriers are just as real as my physical barrier.
Exactly.
They are absolutely just as real. And so having that, I don't know, hook is not the be all and end all. There is the world is just so amazingly full of opportunities and things that you can do that you absolutely love. It's not, yes, things have to be done differently, but hey, isn't it amazing to be able to do things differently?
It is.
So,
it is exactly, and
yeah.
that's the whole point of it. Obviously, the first thing is to inspire young people with sight loss, but on a general level, we don't want to you know, alienate anyone that's interested in this book or what we do, because it's all about inspiring everyone to, one, like you said, get over your fears. Like, don't have fear, kind of be fearless. And secondly, if you're actually just sat there kind of like, you know, in a rut and not doing what you want to do, just take inspiration from this book, because, you know, anything is possible. All you have to do is stick one foot out, you know, and then you just that first step, put yourself out there. Yeah.
So true. So true. Absolutely so true. And it's yeah. Oh, that's incredible. I'm so glad we finally caught up.
Yes,
because
I definitely
this is just amazing. I definitely really want that, because I've been wondering, where do I go with this In Conversation series next year, and I think you have just inspired me with a whole new, because I have wanted to talk to people from overseas, just because I think, because there's, I suppose, sight loss and living with sight loss is I'm going to say that is a particular experience in this country, because we've got the same legislative and regulatory framework. There are the same provisions that should be made for us. Guide dogs are a national organisation that everybody can tap into to get that sort of support. Same with RNIB, but not the same is the case abroad in America or in Australia. There, people living with sight loss, their experience of life is significantly different.
Well, it definitely is, also because the countries, for one, are a lot bigger, so everyone's a bit more, you know, kind of widespread, aren't they? Our networks are a lot more in England and in the UK are a lot more easy to access because of that, because we're closer to each other. But I did notice, you know, by putting this book together, because I did the resource links at the end for different links, and it was quite difficult to do because it was international. But I did find that Canada has a lot of organisations that are easy to find online compared to other countries. Weirdly, I don't know why Canada kind of has that, you know, has that kind of, you know, above everyone else, above all the other countries. But that's what I found. Very bizarre.
Well, that's amazing. Well, yeah, I'll definitely have that book put off you.
Yeah.
Anyway, right, okay. I think we'll wrap it up there. Thank you so much.
No, it's really good to talk to you, and I'll have to bring Kappa over to have a play with Zoran soon.
Yes,
as naughty as they both are,
and get them both really muddy, like they really like doing the retrievers, right? they were the two big boys on Class. So
and they're very similar, aren't they?
Macy, who was on Class with us, so she's now Annette's dog. Annette is another one of our coordinators.
Oh wow,
she's done Macy now. So
that's nice.
It's a tight knit little East Anglian family.
Yeah, it is, and that's what's nice about guys, and it's nice that we all, you know, a lot of us are kept in touch afterwards, you know. So yes,
it's kind of you kind of bump into each other, and it's like the same as it always was, wasn't it? So,
Yeah.
oh my God, it's so amazing to see you,
And
Yvette.
you.
So
I really
happy.
appreciate you having me.
Oh, well, it was when music came to mind, because I've tried to. This is actually been a challenge. So I put this together, and then I thought I'll theme it for sport for the month. So September was supposed to be for sport, and I had lots of suggestions in, and I sort of looked at the list and said, "Where are my girls?"
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
just, there are women out there who play sports. I do know. I have seen them. So,
yeah,
but all the local people were you know, and I'm not biased in any way, but I thought this has to be different. So I got in touch with British Blind Sports, and they gave me Sophie's contacts and
yeah,
Laura's contacts, and it was just amazing talking to her, because, you know, our experience of life as it is so much different
yeah,
to so it was just important to me. And again, with music, I really want, again, it's a very there's a lot of men in the industry,
yeah.
especially in your industry, and I thought this, and I immediately thought of you. It's like Yvette has got to come on, because you work in such a tough sector, you know, that for in that way, where
Yeah.
people just naturally just pick, you know, a certain stereotype, and
Yeah.
that's what you're kind of up against. But
Yeah.
if you just put yourself out there, stick at it, do what you love, keep loving what you do, it
Yeah.
just kind of all comes
You
together.
won't go away, basically. I've become like a bad smell. That's how I see it. It's like, I'm not going to go away.
Maybe that's what. No, I'm not going to call myself that. Some people might take it literally.
No.
Right.
Cool.
Okay. Thanks, Yvette, so much. You
No problem.
can pop all the links and everything on here afterwards. But
Yeah.
it's just been amazing catching up with you. So
And you.
yeah, I'll stop the live stream here now.
Okay.
Thanks to everybody on the forum page who's been watching today. I hope you've appreciated Yvette as much as I have. And yeah, thanks very much. Bye.